Most people say they'd pull a lever to save 5 lives. But hand them the same math and ask them to push one man off a bridge instead, and almost nobody agrees. Same numbers, same outcome, totally different answer. That gap is the real puzzle. Not the trolley, not the tracks. The gap between what we say we believe and what we're willing to do with our own hands. And it says something deep about how our minds handle right and wrong. Most of us walk around with a quiet faith that our moral code is solid, steady, built on clear rules. But the trolley problem cracks that faith wide open. It shows that our sense of right and wrong shifts based on small details we barely notice. The method, the closeness, the feel of the act. Change any one of those and our answer flips. Not because the facts changed, because something inside us changed. Here's why that matters right now. Companies are building cars that drive themselves. Those cars will face split-second choices. Swerve left, harm one. Swerve right, harm many. Engineers need rules. Code needs logic. But if human moral instinct is this messy, what do we tell the machine? The trolley problem is no longer just a classroom game. It's the blueprint for how we program life and death choices into the tools we're handing control to. Let's start with the classic setup. A runaway trolley races toward 5 workers on a track. They can't escape. You stand next to a lever, pull it, and the trolley switches to a side track where one person stands. That one person dies. The 5 survive. What do? When researchers put this choice to thousands of people, the result was lopsided. The vast majority pulled the lever. The logic felt clean. 1 death is tragic. 5 deaths are worse. Fewer deaths equals the better outcome. That line of thinking has a name. It's called outcome-based ethics. Judge the act by its results. The math is simple, and most people follow it without much struggle. But something strange happens when you remove the lever and put the person on a bridge. Now picture this. Same trolley. Same 5 workers about to die. But you're standing on a footbridge above the tracks. Next to you is a large man. If you push him off the bridge, his body will stop the trolley. He dies. The 5 survive. Same trade. 1 life for 5. Yet now, almost no one agrees. Approval drops off a cliff, and it throws a wrench into the clean math of the lever case. If saving 5 at the cost of 1 is right in the first version, why is it wrong here? The numbers didn't change. Only the method did. The obvious answer is closeness. Pushing feels personal. You'd feel his weight. You'd use your hands. The lever creates distance. Your fingers touch metal, not flesh. And that distance, it turns out, is doing huge moral work inside your brain. But here's the catch. That reasoning leads somewhere odd. It means our moral code isn't based on outcomes or rules at all. It's based on how the act feels. 2 people who believe the same thing can reach opposite choices just because one had to touch someone and the other didn't. That's not logic. That's instinct. And instinct, as we're about to see, follows its own map. There's an old idea in moral thought that draws a line between what you intend to do and what you know will happen as a side effect. It's called the rule of double effect. If your goal is to save 5 people and 1 death is an unintended side effect of flipping a switch, many say that's allowed. But if your goal requires using someone's body as a tool, ending their life on purpose to block the trolley, that crosses a line. The harm isn't a side effect anymore. It's the method. This line feels right to most people. But test it, and the cracks show. In surveys of ethics students, about 2/3 said they used this rule in a steady way across both cases. That sounds good until you flip it. A full third couldn't stay steady even when they knew the rule and tried to follow it. And these weren't random strangers. They were people trained to think about ethics. If trained thinkers can't hold the line, what hope does the rest of us have? There's another twist. Moral approval doesn't climb in a straight line as you save more people. Save 2 lives at the cost of 1, and only about half of people approve. But somewhere around 4 or 5 lives saved, approval jumps sharply and then flattens out near the top. After that, adding more lives barely moves the needle. Think about what that means. There's a tipping point where our brains decide, okay, that's enough to justify the harm. Below it, we hesitate. Above it, we commit. But where that tipping point sits has nothing to do with formal rules or careful thought. It's a gut boundary, and it sits in a different place for different people, shaped by culture, upbringing, and pure nature. So what's happening inside the brain when someone faces these 2 versions of the same problem? Researchers put people in scanners and watched. When someone judged the lever case, the logical control center of the brain lit up. That region handles planning and trade-offs. Cool. Measured. calm. But when the same person judged the bridge case, a different zone fired. The emotional alarm center. The part of your brain that flinches when something feels wrong, even before you can explain why. That emotional spike was strong. Heart rates jumped far higher in the bridge version than in the lever case. Here's what makes this wild. Researchers found patients who had damage to that emotional center. Those patients were far more likely to say yes to pushing the man off the bridge. Without the gut alarm, the math took over. They treated both cases the same way. 1 life for 5. Done. Which raises a strange question. Is the emotional flinch a bug making us irrational? Or is it a feature protecting us from becoming cold counters willing to treat people as tools? Now you might think these patterns are the same everywhere, hardwired into every human brain. And there's truth to that. Across countries, the broad pattern holds. Most people pull the lever. Most people refuse to push. But the margins shift. In some cultures, fewer people pull the lever. In some regions, slightly more agree to push. Age matters too. By 7 or 8 years old, children already show the same split. They pull the lever and refuse to push, but their reasoning is fuzzier. They feel the gap before they can name it, which suggests this tension between cold math and warm instinct isn't learned from books. It forms early, shaped by something deeper than classroom lessons. Gender plays a small role. So does income and schooling. People with more education lean slightly toward outcome-based thinking. But these are nudges, not big shifts. The core pattern, the gap between lever and bridge, stays firmly in place across every group tested. But does the trolley problem really tell us anything useful? Critics raise a fair point. These puzzles strip away everything that makes real moral choices hard. The people on the tracks are strangers. There's no legal fallout, no family waiting at home, no years of future life to weigh. Real choices happen in thick, tangled settings. And in that mess, our gut instincts might actually serve us better than clean math ever could. There's also the question of whether the line between intended harm and side effects is as clean as it sounds. Some argue that the rule of double effect isn't a real moral guide. It's a label we slap on choices we've already made with our gut. We feel the push is wrong, and then we find the rule to justify that feeling. The rule doesn't drive the car. The emotion drives, and the rule rides along. That criticism has real bite. But here's what it doesn't erase. Even if the trolley problem is a toy model, the tension it reveals is not. We genuinely do make different moral choices based on closeness, based on method, based on whether the harm feels direct or abstract. And that tension doesn't vanish when you move from a classroom thought test to a boardroom or a courtroom or a line of code. Self-driving car companies are already running these kinds of tests in virtual settings. They program crash cases. They test public reaction. And they keep bumping into the same wall the trolley problem mapped out decades ago. People want the car to save the most lives, but they also want the car to never target anyone on purpose. Those two demands clash in exactly the way the lever and bridge clash. And no program has cracked the gap. In the short run, ethics panels and policymakers will use trolley-style research to draft early safety rules for machines. Down the road, we might see cars with adjustable ethical settings, where the owner or the government picks the trade-off rules in advance. And further out, legal systems will need to decide whether a machine that kills one to save 5 should be treated like a lever puller or a bridge pusher. The trolley problem isn't a puzzle with a clean answer, it's a mirror. And the face it shows us is more tangled than we'd like to admit. We want to be steady. We want our values to add up. But the moment you swap a switch for a pair of hands, the math stops mattering and the feeling takes the wheel. If this made you rethink how steady your own moral compass really is, there's more like this on the channel. Drop a comment and tell me which version you'd choose, the lever or the bridge. I'm curious whether you land where most people do. 5 lives or 1. The trolley still rolls. And the answer still depends on whether your hands stay clean.